Well, well, well. Shopping for a car?
Yep, Carvana made financing a car as smooth as can be.
Oh, yeah?
I got pre-qualified instantly and had real terms personalized just for me.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
Well, I got to browse thousands of car options on Carvana, all within my budget.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
It does. I actually wanted a car that seemed out of my range, but I was able to add a cosigner and found my dream car.
It doesn't get much...
Oh, it gets smoother. It's getting delivered tomorrow.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today.
Paid actor per trail.
I didn't see it coming. Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. The mortgage, car payments, and all the other bills. Even things like our annual summer vacation would be out of reach. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. I knew it was time to stop putting it off and get life insurance right now. I got on my computer and went to ethoslife.com. In just 10 minutes, I was covered, and boom, family protected. Thanks to Ethos, my family won't have to worry about the bills if the unpredictable happens to me.
Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethoslife.com/audio. That's ethoslife.com/audio.
And everyone should know the NCAA Division I and II recruiting calendar. If they don't, they should get well versed in that so they can choose their tournaments correctly.
Hey, what's going on? Tyler here with Black Diamond Softball and Fitness. I'm bringing you a brand new episode of the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast. This week, I had the opportunity to sit down with Coach Tom Bunn. He's the director of Starz Gold Fastpitch Organization in Williamsburg, Virginia. We talk about his summer schedule, some of the competition that he faced. We get into the alliance, and we talk about the future of softball in general and what he has going on early this fall. Check it out. Speaking about competition, you had a summer full of it. So kind of bring us back and kind of recap what you guys did this summer as an organization and some of the teams that you have.
Well, we had it was a great summer, honestly. And, when you graduate out, like coming into it, I knew we were still good, but last year we graduated out, a top 3 pitcher in the country, that Emma Lemley that went on to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
So when you lose that, and we're going to lose, we lose great players to graduation all the time, but you're not 100% sure that you're going to be at the same level as you were, in 2021. But our 2 pitchers, and we're constructed a little bit differently than most of the teams we play in the alliance. But we went out to Indiana with 12 players and 2 pitchers. We're playing teams that have 27 players and 6 pitchers. And I'm not judging that. It's just not how we're constructed. And so, but our 2 pitchers, Eden Bigham, who's going to UVA, and Peyton List, who's going to Virginia Tech, really stepped up, and we actually made it further this year than we did last, which is pretty crazy, And so we went out and we started in AFCS. We won our region, and then we went to a super region with the number 6 team. That is one reason. Last year when we made super regions, we went to the number 1 team super region. That makes things a lot more difficult. Not saying the number 6 team's not awesome, because they are.
Right.
But just like in college, if you avoid the top 2 teams, you might be able to get to the next round, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so we get to super regions and we lose to the number 6 team the first go around, and that was the Impact Gold out of Texas. And we had to come back the next day and win 3 in a row, including 2 against them. And we did. And Eden pitched every single inning of that day. So we just kept rolling. We just played 3 games in a row. Fortunately, we got 1 run rule out of it, so that saved a couple innings. But and then we won in pretty dramatic fashion, because we're playing this game. We're on fumes, okay, because we're playing our 3rd game against a team that beat us the day before. and it's day whatever. And so we're already tired. We have a 3-1 lead with 5 outs to go. You're like, just hold on. And it's one of those things you're like, please don't let the tying run come up. Well, we did. And they hit a 2-run homer to tie it with not 1 out in the 6th. Like the wind just comes out of the sails, you know? And, but to the kids' credit, they got the final 2 outs. We come up the next inning. Our number 9 hitter gets a leadoff single, huge. Our leadoff hitter pushes a bunt by the charging first baseman. So the girl on first goes all the way to third. We have first and third, nobody out. Next pitch is a wild pitch. We take the lead about 30 seconds after we gave it up.
Wow.
And then we scored 1 more. And that was the difference in feelings over literally 5 minutes were dramatic. You go from, oh my gosh, I cannot believe we just let them tie it. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe we just took the lead back.
That comes from playing that competition too. That emotion, it just goes up and down when you're playing, you know, that type of tournament. That's
and
awesome.
7 innings.
Yeah.
You know, like we
all
would
those
have won
games are
game.
7 innings, right?
Yeah, we would have won that game 3-1 if it was a time game.
Right.
We would have never got to the bottom of the 6th probably.
Right.
So the 7 innings is different, you know, and that's the way they play in college. So that's the way the kids should get, you know, that's what they should get used to.
Right.
And going through a team's heart of the order 3 or 4 times, depending on how many base runners you've given up, is hard, you know. And because I know from when we're pitching well, like we've given up no runs or 1 run or whatever, usually the hardest inning, and this was the case in this case, is that 3-1 lead. The hardest inning is the 6th, because that's when the meat of the order comes through again for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
And getting them out for a 3rd time is hard, you know. And even when we were in high school, like that was usually the inning. Like if we were going to give up runs, that's the hard one to get through. So it does matter, and it really tells you a lot about your hitters, but you know, really tells you a lot about your pitchers. Right. Can you get these elite lineups out 3 times or 4 in some cases?
It's tough, especially when you got you're facing the teams that have that 1, 2, or 3, and they've got just tons of speed. You know, you can't walk them anywhere along the way because you don't want to give them that extra base, that extra lineup spot, so they get to their top again faster. So they are getting to it the 3rd time earlier in the game, like that 5th inning, it could happen to the 6th inning. You got to pick and choose, you know, your battles, and you know that battle's coming late because that's the 3rd time through the order. And I couldn't imagine, you know, if having to do it 3 games in a row. You know it's coming. It's tough. Those girls learn a lot playing that competition, and you coaching at that level with those girls, I'm sure you can see growth just within a couple of weeks because they're facing that competition and the mentality they have to have. Speak on that mentality just a little bit about facing a summer schedule that's so daunting like this, because you're in that 6-8 week recruiting window and it's just competition without a whole lot of break.
Well, this group was just really gritty. I think whatever we've done, you know, through the years, I can't put my finger on how we deliberately achieved this or anything. It's just, but the culture is these kids don't get overly impressed with any of their opponents. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean they don't expect to lose to anyone just because you're the number 6 seed or the number 1 seed last year, you know. And I think it's just, you know, they're just kind of blue collar, confident kids, and just like in there, they, you know, they think if, you know, we don't have to necessarily be better than them 1 to 15. We just need to win that day. Right. And the kids feel like they can do that, and they competed. And really the reason why we went further, one of the main reasons why we graduated out an elite pitcher last year and went further this year is the difference in the 1 through 9. You know, last year I told people, I think in 5 games in this Alliance Championship, we won our first 3, then lost 2 heartbreakers to the Texas Bombers. So we went 3-2, but in 5 games we outscored our opponents 8-3. And so, I mean, not on average, in total. Right. We scored 8 runs in 5 games and managed to win the first 3 or something crazy like that, you know. And this year, I think we scored like 50 runs when we went out there. So that really changed everything for us. And it was really a lot of the same kids, a couple additions, but a lot of the same kids. And maybe to what you said, just those kids getting used to those types of pitchers, you know? So yeah, that really changed everything. Because last year we would have lost that game if they tied up 3-3. Like we really leaned a lot on our pitchers, and not to say that we didn't this year, but it was more of a collective effort, and that's why I think we took the next step, or a big reason why.
Yeah, speaking about pitchers, you're known for churning out some pitchers, man. Some elite pitchers. You have a lot of good instructors in the Virginia area and surrounding areas that just, they're great. I mean, there's a lot of talented pitchers that have come out of that area.
It's crazy. The last 10 years is bananas. I don't know if the next 10 years will be as crazy, but the last 10 years, if you go back to 2011 high school grads, these are probably kids that that you may not know, or a lot of the people that listen, you may not know, but like 2012 was Jalen Ford and Maggie Tyler. They played for us, but 2011 was Lacey Waldrop, who came out of Richmond, and she pitched for Florida State and kind of led them to, I think, to the College World Series, and might have won like the equivalent of Golden Spike. She was elite. Mm-hmm. So you had all those kids, and then it just continued. And there's like the run that JMU had was fueled by Virginia pitchers, and the run that Virginia Tech is on is fueled by Virginia pitchers. The two kids at Clemson are Virginia pitchers. St. George, who graduated from Duke last year, is a Virginia kid, and so is Sandercock down in Florida State. So the whole ACC just about is being their pitchers all came from Virginia. Again, I don't know if it's going to be that great in the next 10 years, but the last 10 years have been absolutely unbelievable.
When you are around those type of pitchers, and you can see their work ethic, and other pitchers are around them and they see what works and how they're doing things, so they start to it's that copycat mentality of putting in that hard work and being dedicated to that craft. Does it make your job easier where you can just point and go, hey, you could be just like that?
It certainly helps to have any example like that, like whether it's, they watched, most recently they watched Keeley on TV and Emma Lemley on TV, and you could see their demeanor and how they compete and stuff like that. And a lot of that is, that's natural to those kids. And it was, infused in them through their parents, and they just have that kind of quiet confidence. Like when you watch those kids, you can't tell if they're in a 0-0 game, they're winning 10-0, losing 10-0. They just called like the 20th illegal pitch or something like that. You can't tell any of that really by looking at their face, and they just handle the situation so great. And I certainly can't take any credit for that. That they came equipped with that. But like I said, I think a culture of our team is that we expect to win no matter who we're playing. And I think the pitchers feel the same way. They feel like they can get anybody out no matter who they're playing. And if they make a mistake, the mentality of just, you got to make the next pitch. Whether you just struck somebody out or gave up a home run, you have to make a quality pitch on the next pitch. And they kind of,
that's the mentality that they have to have. And some learn it. Some just haven't. Some of it's been instilled in them. The other day I was watching the video where Angie Tincher had pitched the no-hitter against the USA team. And
perfect game, I think.
Yeah, perfect game. That's right. Perfect game. And Jenny Finch was on the mound for the US, and they had called her for an illegal pitch where it had moved the runner, and then the next batter had drove her in to score the run.
Thank goodness they got rid of that part of the rule. Yeah,
and to me, you're talking about, you just said like if they keep the 20 illegal pitches in a row, Jenny, that demeanor didn't change. Like she just went back out there and went to work on that. Now we're getting illegal pitches called, and it's just not affecting the pitchers at all. It's more about who's commentating the game that'll say something. They're trying to explain it to the crowd of why it's an illegal pitch. Do you think they are pushing the envelope as much as they can? If they get called, they get called. They don't care. They're trying to get everything they possibly can out of that pitch.
that certainly can lead to it. I think the other thing too, and not that, I mean, Emma didn't get called for more than 5 illegal pitches in the 5 years she played for us. Right. So, and then what she's getting called for at the college level isn't illegal in international play.
Right.
Or men.
Right.
And I don't even know if it's illegal in high school, So it's just, it would be nice if all the rules were the same. Can you imagine if different levels of baseball had different pitching rules, with how you can, wind up or whatever. It's just, you would hope that everything would be the same. But I think that's part of it is you don't, if it's working, you're not really fixing it. Right. Because it's not getting called. Not that I'm trying to put that on travel ball umpires, because I know how parents can be and how people would lose their minds if you started calling 10 illegal pitches on a 14-year-old kid. But that's part of the reason why it happens, is that whether it's Emma or someone else, and there's 1,000 pitchers in college that do what she was called for. And I
don't know.
It doesn't get fixed if it doesn't get called. And then they're all of a sudden they're calling it all the time.
I'm with you on let's try to get the rule book where everybody's on the same. There's different sanctions that are going to call different things, and the high school level, they're going to call different things. But I think we just need to have a universal rule, and everybody needs to adopt it. And that's the rule. I mean, and stay with that, because it's hurting the pitchers, because they can't pitch in the same sanctions over and over, especially if they're going back and forth between school ball or travel ball and this and that. So let's talk Keely Richard for a second. Just an incredible pitcher. You had her at a young age, and you were able to see her just excel at Virginia Tech. And then now she's a professional. What type of athlete, if you could sum her up in one word, what type of athlete would you say Keely Richard is?
One word, I'd say winner. Okay. Whether it was at the high school level or travel ball level or college level, like she just gets the big outs and the big spots. And even if she's not having a vintage day, I would just say winner. Very composed out there, very confident, never gets rattled. Right. I mean, I think if people watch her, that's one of the things that sticks out, is that she doesn't get rattled. And most of our pitchers have been like that. And again, I don't think we do anything deliberately to try to, we encourage that, but I don't know how we're actually getting it done, other than, I don't think any of our coaches at the 18U level get rattled after a particular pitch or anything like that, and you're certainly not getting on your pitchers when they make a mistake, because that's just going to lead to more mistakes. Right. So I think
this is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy!
Blech. And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
For the most part, we kind of try to handle things the same way.
Yeah, you're that hands-on coach when you need to be hands-on, and then you're hands-off when you need to be, because you understand that these players they're elite and they need to be able to be themselves. If you could give advice to a newer coach, a younger coach, or someone who hasn't been in the game as much, what do you know now that you wish you would have knew back even before you were coaching high school ball or travel ball or any of it?
I would say the way my coaching style has changed the most is if I I used to be, and we're all probably guilty of it when we're younger, we're a little bit more, fiery or competitive and knuckleheads and stuff like that. What I learned is what I changed most, if I didn't think the mistake was effort based, why am I getting mad? Do I think the pitcher meant to give up a home run? Do I think, we meant to strike out? So those things, like, you can't do that too often. We have to take you out of the game, but I know it's hard sometimes. And so, like, unless it's effort based, I would say, keep your cool. Kids are trying, if there's not every single day that we had, any of these great pitchers were they always on, There were weekends where we skipped over all American pitchers for other options because they didn't have a good weekend or a good week, all of them at some point. We would skip their spot in the rotation to go back to whoever was hot. Well, it's not because they weren't trying. We didn't get mad at them, but we just were like, okay, we're going to go to what's working. But I think effort-based mistakes make me upset. But if it's not an effort-based mistake and they're trying their hardest, work with just correct what they did wrong in this tone of voice in between innings if you can. Not every, I tell kids, like, hey, sometimes there are things that are urgent. Like if you're not tagging up and you should be, or if you are and you shouldn't be, I might have to raise my voice to get you to fix it because we have a half a second to fix it.
Right.
And but if it's a pitcher that makes a mistake or a batter that makes a mistake or whatever, you can just fix it in between innings at this tone.
Yeah. That's huge, Tom. I'm going to use that. That's what I was just writing down, knowing the difference between what is an effort-based mistake and what's not.
And I'll say it's not just running the first on a ground ball, and it's not just running out pop-ups. It's, it's a little bit, particularly as they get older, it's also knowing the score, knowing the count, knowing the outs, knowing the situation, knowing that, and your most instinctive defensive players, the players you call instinctive aren't distinctive. They've already processed, okay, I'm in center field. There's a runner on second, one out. If it's hit to me in the air to this direction, this is what I'm doing. If it's hit to me on the ground, this is what I'm doing. And so they make their decisions like that.
Right. All
right. The great defensive players do, or the great base runners do, because they've already, whether they know it or not, they've already processed this, pre-pitch. The ones that are trying to process it during the play are the ones that make decisions slower or whatever. So effort-based isn't just running things out hard. It's knowing the situation and knowing what you're doing before the play even happens within the game. And to that point, I will say too, like the kids that stick out when I'm watching them, sometimes like one thing that sticks out is if you hit a pop-up to the shortstop or shallow center or whatever, the kids that jog the first, I'm like, The kids that run like they're trying to get an inside the park home run before that thing hits their glove, you're like, I want that kid on my team.
Yep.
And I'm guessing that not every college coach is that much different than me, that they're probably thinking it too.
Yeah.
If they came to watch you hit and you popped up, obviously you didn't impress them with your hitting. impress them with your effort.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a good point. Absolutely. I talked to Scott Woodcock, the assistant coach at Maine, the other day, and we were talking a little bit about the gaps from high school travel ball getting into college. Like what's one of the things that's lacking the most? And he was talking about base running. Kids just don't know how to run bases.
Base running stinks.
Yeah, I mean, are you seeing that too?
Yeah, it's the number one thing. It's the number one thing I'm trying to fix within the game at all age groups, and particularly with the 14-year group that we took out to California. Trying to explain the why during the game can get a little verbose, but like I'm trying to tell them why I want you to do this and why when you're a runner on second with one out, it's different than when you're a runner on second with no outs, you know, and trying to get them to think about the game, because they just too often they play the game very static.
Right.
You know, like you gotta, like if they're playing shortstop, they're good at picking up a ground ball and throwing to first. But if you ask them to make a decision in a rundown or something like that, it breaks their brain sometimes, or so it seems. And the same with base running and defensive decision making, I put in the same category. And usually the kids that are good at one are good at both, that I've found. And it's pretty much like it's just players being intentional about thinking about the game even before the pitch is made.
Right. And with that too, on the defensive side, communication is key. So as you're, getting the 14Us up and running, how do you tackle when you see lack of communication on the field? What's something that you do? We
have some crazy quiet kids on that team, so it is a challenge for sure. And not always has our catcher been like and I think it's harder for kids nowadays to be a kind of a verbal leader, you know. They don't really naturally step up to do that. Like when I was growing up playing baseball, it was like the catcher and the shortstop with people, and then in the outfield, I guess center field. The kids are less, it seems like kids are less prone to taking the lead like that than they were, back when, I was 100 years ago when I was still playing. But it could be an issue. I've tried to work with it, and you just hope that as they play together, they get a little bit better at it. It's hard to promote it, but like I try to, the easy situations are easy to promote, like communicating on pop-ups and stuff like that, balls that are hitting between outfielders. But going next level and talking about when a play goes off script and the cutoff is offline, and all of a sudden runners are not where you expected them to be, like that kind of communication is a little bit harder to get, a little bit rarer to find. You see it a lot at that college level. You'll see the girls that they're communicating constantly, and I'll tell the younger players that they're not communicating to say, "Hey, you don't know what you're doing. I'm telling you what to do." They're communicating to let you know that this is the page that I'm on. I want to make sure that you at least know the page that I'm on. So when you go to make whatever play you're going to make, you'll know where I'm at, and I know what you're thinking or what you're doing. So if we're all communicating like that, it's not just, hey, we got 2 outs. That's something that happens. That's just white noise. When catchers at the beginning of the inning and the catchers are shouting, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but I'm just like, it's not worth a lot. We're starting an inning. No one's on base. There's no outs. Infield go 1, outfield go 2. I'm like, well, no kidding. There's no one on base. We're just starting. And that's not very useful information. It's when it's just like when you shouldn't really need your base coach unless your back is to the play. Right. Same thing defensively. The communication has to happen when if the shortstop's the cutoff to an outfield, like if I'm and we're depending on where the runner's going, let's say I'm playing third, I should be and there's multiple runners on, I should be telling them where to go with it because they can't see what's going on behind them. And the same thing with base runners. And that's one thing I try to get the younger kids to do. That if the ball's in front of you, don't even look to me. Right. Make your own decision. And I would also try to encourage the creative, the aggressive attempt, whether it's on defense or running the bases, because you learn a lot more when you make the aggressive attempt. It may make a mistake. It may lead to a run being scored, sometimes, but it's still worth it, especially as younger players, like just for example, if our catcher makes, or if our first baseman tries to make an aggressive attempt, like let's say the play started with first and second, and the ground ball's hit to the shortstop, and just a runner on second. Ground ball's hit to the shortstop, and the runner on second waits to see the throw. I want that first baseman throwing to third almost regardless, because I want to watch them make a throw. If they make a great throw, that looks good when college coaches are watching. If they make a bad throw, the third baseman has a chance to make a great play. And I also get a chance to see if the left fielder's backing it up. Right. So if you just play boring, you don't learn anything either. Yeah. So an extra throw sometimes, or that quick throw, that it creates action. And
some positivity can come out of that, creating that action. I like that. One thing we hear a lot of coaches say is after a kid hits a ball, don't watch the ball. And I understand that. And I used to agree with it wholeheartedly. But my thing is, like you were just saying, and it brought it up, when they hit a rocket out there to left, they need to see how that left fielder is playing that ball to see if they have a shot at a stand-up double, or if they need to slide, they need to turn the jets on, or did I hit it directly right to her and she's already thrown it in as I'm getting to first base? So they need to watch the ball somewhat. Don't tell them just put their head down and run and listen, because instinctually we're going to be slower if we're waiting to hear something and then putting that into motion versus I hit something to the left. I can see what's happening. I see what the play is. I'm putting my head down. I'm going into second base. Would you
just
agree?
don't slow down. Like I don't want to build robots, and so we just come out, like everyone should come out of the batter's box like it's a double.
Yeah.
And then just, turn and look. And if you do that and they bobble it, you can take second, but you can't do the reverse. You can't play it like it's a single and then they bobble it, try to take it as a double. You'll probably get thrown out.
Yeah.
So that's another thing of just effort. Like you come out of the box flying every time. You only get up like 3 times a game. I can't trust you to come out of the box flying 3 times a game.
That's a good
point. I can't trust you to do that, then why are you playing? Like it's like, I don't think kids that love playing I think kids that love playing usually are the ones that are busting out of the box, as fast as they can.
Right.
Because either you hit a ground ball, you can put pressure on the offense, or if you get a single, you can turn it into a double, but doubles into triples, etc. So yeah, like I said, and I don't want coaches probably should coach mechanics, but coach within the game to make them independent thinkers, not dependent. I don't like telling kids when to go when they're tagging up either. I'm like, you have eyes, come back to third, find the ball, and you take off as soon as it hits the glove. The only thing I might say is and I learned this the hard way last year, I took something for granted. If it's deep and it's a no-brainer, I'm like, take your time, take your time means do not push the envelope to leaving early, that you have this easy. Because I have seen kids push the envelope on a ball that's 190 feet away from home plate that no one's going to throw them out on.
Yeah.
That do not give the other team or the umpire a chance to screw things up.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
But we should be making independent thinkers on the field.
Yeah. I think that kind of goes into with the younger coaches. They're starting out early travel, maybe still in the rec, something like that. They see a swing, they see a style, and they want to change everyone on the team to that style, or they see a certain way of doing something and they try to take everybody, doesn't matter if the girl's 6 foot tall or 4'6", and try to make them all the same type of ball player. Speak on just a little bit about allowing that player to be an individual, and that makes the team much better when we have individuals.
Well, does Juan Soto swing just like Aaron Judge?
Right.
I haven't watched baseball in a while, so I had to wrestle through my brain for some names. I was going to give you some names from like the 80s, but I'm like, well, let me make it a little bit more relevant. But the answer is no, and everyone has different things that they feel comfortable with. There's with everything else, there's a few fundamental truths with hitting, right, that you like, hey, at this point in the swing, you should be here and here. But the way you get there can be different. Go watch every Hall of Famer swing the bat and see how different they are from player to player,
right.
And not every single kid that's 12 years old should be concerned with launch angle, and I'm like, awesome, you're going to fly out to the left fielder every single time because you're not strong enough to hit home runs. But we'll just wait 4 more years for you to hit home runs. You'll bat 050 for 4 years. I don't think that's a great idea either.
Right.
That's
good, man. You've got a busy August. You got a busy September. What do you have going on right now with the organization? Where's Tom's mind right now?
Well, right now it's getting tournaments and once tournaments are filled, getting camps filled, but and making sure, usually pretty steady with getting the college coaches there. But right now it's just about, our 18U team, our 14U team moves up to 16s, and we're going to try to qualify as many teams as we can for Alliance Nationals this fall, and go through the showcasing circuit, so to speak. We do our own in October, and then in November, we'll have teams in Chattanooga, Atlanta, Clearwater, a couple other places.
Man, how many teams do you have now that you're going to field in the fall?
I think it's only it's 13 or something like that. We don't try to get, I don't know the benefit to being one of 200 teams in an organization. Someone will have to explain that to me, but we are who we are. We're not going to try to put teams in Idaho or Texas or even Florida or whatever. I don't see any reason for us to operate any differently than we have, where usually the team is constructed of Virginia and Carolina kids.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And so that's where we're probably going to stay.
I see, bright things in the future for you guys. I mean, you're building from previous years. I mean, every year is going to be, a little different. It's going to be unique in its own way. As you put a bow on this past summer season and you look forward to next season, what makes you look forward? What makes you look into success of the team? Where do you say, hey, we're being successful at this, or we're not being successful looking at it this way? Where do you, where are you good at, and where do you want to improve?
Well, I think what we've always made our focal point, and what I think we're good at, is helping kids through the recruiting process. It's always been, I think, if you put the players' needs first, you'll keep getting great players, right? And so we try to get all of our kids recruited the best that we can. And in the fall, to me, other than trying to qualify for one event in the summer, you're trying to develop kids and try to develop a culture, try to develop a team. And you do that with, we give plenty of kids opportunities. Last fall, first time we put the 14U team together, we batted all 14 kids every single game. Didn't worry about the outcome of any game. And batted everybody every single game. And part of that is, if you're not in it to develop kids, what do you develop kids' game and develop them in other ways too? There's so many benefits to playing sports that transcend sports. If you're not doing that, why are you doing it? And you want everyone to, and I also want to find out, what do we have and what do we need? So I'm going off on a tangent there from your question, but I think we're good at the recruiting process. We're good at helping kids play within the game. I think I try to teach them. I think one of the things I really like doing is game management. And it's one of the things I try to teach the kids too, to make them better base runners, to make them better field, defensive players, or just, like I said, independent thinkers on the field. And that goes to the pitchers too, so that's some of the strengths. The weaknesses, those are always harder to identify. I think what I've been trying to do is get more of our alumni involved the last couple of years. I didn't really utilize that quite as much as I could have, but I'm trying to get our alumni involved more with the kids from an instruction perspective, from a role model perspective. And also, so like over this past winter, we had, practices where we had Keely Rochard there, Emma Lemley there, Jalen Ford there, Chelsea Wickham there, all these former players helping out. And we're going to continue to do that. And Keely's moved back to the area, so she's looking to work with area pitchers, and we're going to do everything we can to support that and just get more of our alumni involved, because they're always willing to support things. Like I do take a certain amount of pride in that when I reach out to a former player to work a camp or a tournament or whatever, or help me out with a practice, the answer is almost always yes. And it's not because I shuffle out kids every single tournament or had a guest player taking somebody's job every other weekend. Like, you see that happen with certain teams, that most of the kids that we just graduated out, 10 seniors, I think 8 of them went D1, 6 Power 5 on our team. I think the average time in the Starz organization for those kids is like 4 years, 5. They spent on average, they spent their whole high school career with us. Wow. Some kids like Eden and Emma and Jade, all these kids that played, they started like in 7th, 8th grade playing for us. So I actually like that part of it more, like the relationship and building a team, and like kind of like not graduating out kids or trading out kids every single year. That's what I liked about the old days when we had just one 18U team. We had freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors on the team. So we'd have a kid for 4 years. Right. So the relationship with that kid, the relationship with those parents is just different than when you have 1 year with them.
Yeah.
And
I would agree. I mean, it takes a little while to, 6, 8, 12 months before you can get a good read on a parent and they understand your personality, you understand theirs. I think that's huge. And those impressionable years, you're talking about 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. I mean, you're affecting that kid for, years, for the rest of their life. Like you're saying, it's a culture. Starz has a good culture. You guys are, you and your team and your group. I mean, the players that you guys are putting out, they're not just athletes. They're great ambassadors of the sport. You look at who's come through the Starz organization. I think we've been lucky with the kids and parents that have come through. And I think some of that is, as long as you have, like we've always been blessed with good people, and, kind of the birds of a feather kind of thing, and where I think, you're going to want, if you want to play for us, like you probably are looking for a team that is maybe gets a chance to practice from time to time, or is going to be together for a while. And you're going to have like-minded people, and so I think if we get a player that is not team oriented, that is wildly me oriented, they leave. And the kids that are team oriented, and I know everyone has their personal goals or whatever, but the kids that are team oriented stay with us. Yeah. And that's why these are the kids that come back. They really value being part of this team, the Starz or whatever, and coming back to help after they've already graduated, And so I think for some reason the culture has just been, created that kind of environment, and I'm like where team-oriented kids want to stay and me-oriented kids want to go. Right. I think that's what everybody tries to set out to do, and that's what they say, but until they're doing it like you, they will realize how important it truly is, and not just be about the talk, but having these girls come back, having these girls stay with you for so long. I mean, it's done wonders for you and an organization. So when you see them go on and become college stars and playing internationally and playing on the pro level, How does that make you feel as their coach and as a mentor?
It's pretty awesome. And I tried to, this year was the first time, I think I got to an age where I had more time to do this. Like I went on the Starz Gold Alumni Tour is what I called it on Twitter, where I would go I tried to see as many kids as I could play, because because of the COVID fifth year, we had a big 2017 class. So they all had their fifth years. And so we may never have as many. Well, that's probably not true, but this was probably the year we had most kids in college at one time because of all the fifth years, because in our 2017 class was huge. And so I was like, well, I got to go see these kids, so I was pretty deliberate making sure that I saw everybody that I could. And, whoever I missed this year, I'll try to get to next year. And, but I'm just happy for them. And even if I've gone to games where they didn't even play in some cases, but it doesn't even matter, like the game I saw Jordan Dale, because she plays for Oregon, so she came and played at Chapel Hill this past spring.
Right.
I went to watch her, but the day I could make it was the day after she pitched. So I knew she probably wasn't going to play, but it didn't even matter. They just they appreciate just seeing you there, whether they play or not, just supporting what they're doing. And so they gave a lot to us. So like, I feel like these players gave a lot to us. So we owe them a lot of appreciation.
Yeah. I want to tell the folks this too. I don't know how many times we were texting back and forth during the season. You were just excited for anybody. Like this play, that play, they may have played for Starz Gold or maybe not. When you see good ball, it excites you, and it would come through the text and stuff. So, I'm happy that me and you were able to connect again. I'm glad you were able to come back on and kind of fill us in on what's going on with the Starz Gold Organization as a collective, and how big, the impact you have in the travel ball world. Where do you see as a sport, where do you see it going in the next couple of years? Are we, trending in the right direction, or do you think the sport may be growing too fast and it's starting to get watered down on the lower end travel aspect?
I think, the Alliance is definitely where people are going. All right. And so it's hard when you get down, particularly when you get down to the final 32 teams in whatever age group, they're monsters. Okay. And I'm not, so there's no easy games there, and then you're playing 7 innings. So you have to have your best day. And so, that part of it's awesome. What is, I don't know, a little bit problematic, and I know inflation is a real thing, but some of the costs to play they're getting out of control, whether it's, the hotel costs or the tournament costs or whatever. Yeah. Hopefully that slows down at some point, so I don't want us to I hate to see the sport get so expensive that, now you're restricting, it's more restrictive who can play.
Right.
And, yeah. And I think for the most part, it's going all right. There's certain things that I don't like I think, and good thing I don't care about these things, but the rankings are terrible. The rankings bring out the worst in people. If they're done right, it's one thing, but you can't possibly rank all these kids well,
Yeah.
You can maybe rank the teams well because you see results and stuff like that. But when you're just taking my opinion on my players and ranking them based on that, not thinking that anything other than that is going on. But if you're just taking the players' opinion of their own players, and ranking based on that, doesn't seem wise.
I can see where there is some legitimacy when it comes to maybe ranking the 18U that played in the Alliance Championship Series, that those 32 teams, and they can do like a player ranking. But if you're trying to rank a girl from Virginia against a girl from Texas against a girl from Oregon during a season, she hit 30 bombs. This one hit 19 bombs, but the level of pitching, the level of competition, is just completely different. So I think that skews everything. And there's no way to put the two against each other and say, hey, this girl's better than this girl, because Man, there's no way to tell.
If you can do it with probably 18U girls and maybe and 16U girls. You start to get younger than that. So few of them play against each other. Right. So it's like, so how are you comparing? Like, even when we went out to California, we hadn't played against any of those teams hardly at all. Maybe none of them, because we played like all California teams. We were the only team, us and there was a Tampa Mustangs team. I think we're the only two on the East Coast that went. So how are you comparing who we played? It's so hard to compare who we played in California versus us if we never play each other. Right. And then you're going to compare the individual players too.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it's crazy. But by 18s and 16s, you could probably tell who really is a difference maker. And you can usually tell based on where they finish in nationals, so I just hope it's not altogether terrible. So if I said that, maybe I should take that back. But I think we should not put it on 6th and 7th grade girls who don't even know how to play anymore, play yet. And they haven't played against each other. And then now one's feeling good about themselves and one's feeling bad based on a ranking. And I'll tell you another thing. It's parents that care a lot about rankings, their kids usually don't play for us either.
Yeah. I can see.
I don't think Eden was ranked at all.
Wow.
She's a tough. Go ask whoever played against her where she ranks in the current year's graduating class. And she's a senior.
It's the pitchers that are like that, the players that are like that kind of fly under people's radar, and they're not intentionally flying under somebody's radar. It's just that their mom and dad didn't pay the money to get into a ranking system, or they didn't care about the ranking system. They just go out there and play the game to play the game. And those are the ones that sneak up on people. It's like, well, where's this girl been? Well, she's been right here the whole time. For whatever reason, I didn't pay attention to her, but she wasn't hiding from anybody. So.
She wasn't. She was like, if she's not ranked or whatever, trust me. Like, I don't know what Emma was ranked last year or Eden, but the travel ball coaches that they know who they are.
Yeah. I think that's what matters when it comes down to when it's time to make that decision to go play college ball. The coaches, they will, of course, they'll, like your players, they'll talk to you as a coach, but they're also going to find out who they played against, and they'll ask those coaches if they have a relationship with them. They'll ask those coaches about that player, and coaches, they're like you're going to be brutally honest. You're going to say, what you think. You're going to give your opinion, and sometimes that opinion weighs a little bit different with each coach. But those coaches, they want to know, like competition. They want to find out who you played against, if they can have that conversation. And so that's when the true ranking will come out. Where does this coach rank this player? Because that's who I'm looking at to bring into my team. So.
And I think when I will say, like you talk, like maybe not the player rankings, but the perspective of our organization nationwide changed in the last couple of years because we played the Alliance, because we went against the best of the best and took them, either beat them in some cases or took them to the brink in others. And last year, again, this year at 18s and 14s, and our 16s did good, and out Indiana as well. But we had two teams finish in top 10 out of the hardest tournament in the country, 18s and 14s. And that's helped a lot with, for the national perspective of our team. So if someone's like trying to take the next step, and that's even after we already had, a few All-Americans come through our organization, like still people in California or whatever didn't really know who we were, for the most part, until we went and played the Alliance. And they're like, well, okay. They made the final 16 last year and they made the final 8 this year. And I think that's changed things. And then they see that, and then obviously the pitchers do stick out.
Yeah.
But
with your camps and stuff that you put on, bringing in, different coaches and stuff like that, I think it helps with the recruiting process too, because it shows the type of dedication and it shows the type of organization that these girls are coming from. and, you competing in the alliance on the national scene, those coaches kind of see, they know that competition that you're playing. And one of the biggest things that they look at is that competition. And those D1s, those Power Fives, if you're not playing a national schedule, 18U, they're not, I'm not gonna say they're not going to take you, but it's hard for them to put all their eggs in that basket because they don't have anything to go off of as far as competition. They don't know what you've played against. They know these teams and they know the level that they're at, but if you're not playing against them, how do they know? And it's a lot of money involved in it.
And we don't do it every weekend. Like, I don't think you have to spend, I don't think every single parent has to spend a year's college tuition on travel to make it happen. We don't do it every single weekend. We usually get on a plane once, and drive to the Southeast the rest of the time, but when we have traveled and played against the bigger teams, we've done well. And so that helps, but normally, and you can get in plenty of good games going to Chattanooga and Atlanta and stuff like we do too. And up in Richmond when we're playing there, people are like, well, you play so many games in Virginia. I'm like, have you seen the pitchers that have come through Virginia?
Right.
Playing games in Virginia isn't necessarily a bad thing, for your competition. I mean, obviously it matters who you're playing against, but so I think we're lucky enough to have a bit of a track record of helping kids get developed for college. So, it would be tougher getting started now, I'm glad I'm not, because I don't know, would you have to give in and be, be really pushing for those player rankings and stuff like that I don't like, and don't really have to do it because we've been doing it long enough.
Yeah.
If someone's starting out right now, is that part of your coaching philosophy now? Is you got to get players ranked by sending a gazillion emails about self-promoting your team and your players?
Right. That is a good question. And you're proving it that you don't have to play that national level every single weekend. You go, you practice, you play local, you find good competition around, and then when those national tournaments come up, boom, you're ready for them. You go compete, and you compete well, and you hold your own, and you're right there with everybody. So, when we're talking like a national schedule, we're not talking about every single weekend I'm going to Texas or Florida, or you don't have to do that to have a national schedule.
You really do. I try to, I also know who our players are and who our families are historically, and what kind, and what they're looking to do, and I've never played in Colorado ever. Yeah. That's kind of like one of the meccas or whatever to go to in the summer. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, maybe I'll do it next year. And I'm like, well, no, Alliance is in California, and I can't ask these parents to do a flight to Colorado for a week or whatever, and then turn around a week or two later and do it again to California. So I'm like, oh, maybe the year after next.
Right.
But I know that there's teams and parents that are doing multiple flights and stuff like that. And that's not who when I say that's not who we are. And I don't mean that as an organization. That's not who our player base is.
Right.
Why would you better get a full ride, because you're spending the equivalent in travel to get it.
Right. You're exactly right. I know there was some teams, man, with players that were just not home for 3 weeks, went from one to the next, and just, spending a huge chunk of their summer just traveling. I'm sitting there thinking,
and we've had kids that did that, once or twice. You almost want to take a week off, just because, when we did that with kids that, they would occasionally, if I had friends that needed guest players for nationals, I would let them use our players. And they would play all 3 weeks. And then by the time, our national was we would play one national this week, they'd go with someone else in the middle, and then we'd play again in the third week. By that third week, they were spent.
Yeah. They need a chance to recover. How do they get better? They just keep grinding. They can't heal to get better. It's
usually brutally hot where you're playing these things in July. So it really, no, I was done after 2 weeks of traveling, and I didn't play an inning. You know, I just went from Indiana to California to home, but I was like,
we were talking earlier this summer, and you were saying that you'd be glad to be back home, but as soon as you get back home, you're putting together the fall schedule and making sure the fall schedule is good to go. I mean, I applaud you for everything that you do, man. I'm glad you're able to come back on and
recurring guest.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know,
you are my first repeat guest, and
there you go.
I'm gonna have you back on again once we let the fall season kind of shake out a little bit. And
no, absolutely. Sorry, I'm sorry if I went on too many tangents and stuff like that.
No, dude,
I don't always stay on topic.
That's why I do it, man. That's why it's fun talking to you. You know, we don't know where the conversation will lead us, and you know, I think that's what makes this podcast what it is they don't know who I'm going to bring on, who the guest is, and then they get your perspective of it. I mean, you're the only one that has your perspective on things because you've done your career's been your career. You know, your life's been your life, and people want to hear about that, want to know about that, and they get to find out, more about Starz Gold. They get to find out about you. They get to, say, hey, this is what they're doing. I can take some of this from that. Or you know what I'm doing is right. He explained it the way he's doing it. I'm doing it the same way, and it works for him. So it validates some of the thoughts. So it's awesome, man. I had a chance to sit down and talk with Jamie, and she was talking about, just trying to grow the alliance on the East Coast. And I think you're a huge part of that. And so, continued success, man, doing big things. And eventually, I think at some point, all the powerhouse teams, all the powerhouse organizations that are going to over here on the East Coast, we won't have to travel so far to play in the Alliance National. Maybe they'll bring it to the East Coast at some point.
Well, I think, they called Indiana East. And so I'm like, but honestly, it wasn't as bad a drive as I thought. And the fields were unbelievable. Like it's a massive facility. I've never been there before. And there's like 30 softball, all turf softball fields, same for baseball, same for soccer, indoor facilities. So when you get there, you want to practice or whatever, you get some swings in, you can. Now, these aren't just your run of the mill indoor facilities that we have around here. Like they had like 20 batting cages, and then they had a green space big enough for a football team to play 7-on-7, and it was just like, this is quite the setup. And the turf fields matter in the summer because when we had rain, we were playing like 5 minutes after the rain stopped.
Yeah.
And so when they tried to come to the East Coast, they went to Florida, and Florida you can get some rain there in July. And they were even at turf fields, but it just wasn't, it was just downpours. So they were like, oh, can't do that.
I think turf is the way to go, and I think more and more players are getting used to playing on turf. The ball acts a little bit different on turf. Instead of just a hop, it kind of skips and hops at the same time. So
it's a little bit different. And then our pitchers didn't have any issues with it this year, but there's been times where they put mats out there, or the turf is, depending on how old the turf is, if it gets a little rough, it can be, you can get snagged on it kind of thing. But those facilities were awesome. And if you get a chance to play a national in Indiana, it was, I know you don't think destination location when you think Indiana, but we were there to play softball anyhow. So it didn't matter if the beach was, 1 mile away or 1,000 miles away. I wasn't going.
When I heard that it was going to Indiana, I was like, okay, where? And then I find out how impressive the complex is, the location was, and it's just like, are you kidding me?
You get everybody at the same location, and and not only were all the California travel teams there, UCLA's there. There's a PGF is going on in Huntington Beach. UCLA's in Indiana.
Yeah.
And they probably had someone at Huntington Beach too, but just to give you an idea of how valuable it is, they were in Indiana watching teams. And not just them. Many of the Pac-12 and obviously Big 12 and ACC and SEC and all and Big 10, they were all there, and all the teams were at one location. And another nice thing I would say about it is I saw this firsthand with our 16U, who didn't have the best day coming out of the gate, because you when you start, there's no pool games. You're playing your regional.
Yeah.
So if you go boom boom, you're out of tier 1.
Yep.
But you get to go down to tier 2 or tier 3 and keep playing.
Yeah.
So our 16U team didn't have a great first day, but then they had a great like day 2 through 5 or whatever it was. And they're not playing tier 1, but they're in the same location as tier 1. And there's at the same, and I watched them as I was waiting for our team to play again. And they've got major Power 5 schools watching them because they're still playing.
Right.
The 2 losses didn't just knock them into knock them out of the tournament altogether.
Yeah.
You kind of get like a second chance to make a run, and if you think of it as a recruiting perspective, that's what the tier 2 and tier 3 impressed upon me is at least you're still playing,
right?
And you're still getting, and you still have recruiting opportunities.
And when Jamie was talking about how it went from year 1 to year 2, she was most happy with the tiers, because she was saying, just like you saying the exact same thing, tier 2 and tier 3 still has the talented girls that are there. Wins and losses, yeah, they matter, but at the end of the day, they're still at the same event playing good competition. They're getting this exposure, and that's huge. I didn't know it was going to be like that, but those college coaches that are able to see that, they want to see light competition. They don't want to go see some team up here just throttle some team that's down here because they can't tell how good a team is or how good a player is. They want to see light competition, and Alliance is doing it big right now.
No, I think, yeah. And that was the best change to the format, I thought, was just the last year, it was like the PGF format. Like, okay, you either got to go Premier or Platinum. I'm like, no insult to anyone. I don't understand it going 3,000 miles to play not the best tournament. But that's what they did last year. You went into Oklahoma City either tier 1 or tier 2, which again, it's a tough sell to get me to go. If I had a tier 2 berth, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to go if that's where I'm already designated to, Yeah. But this year with all the teams and then having them go into, okay, if you finish top 2, you go tier 1, middle 2, you go tier 2, and bottom, like from your group of 6, the bottom 2 go tier 3, and then you play on. That was a really good format change.
I agree. All right, man. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry, I went long.
No, it's good. It's all good, man.
Chop it up. You can make it 20 minutes. Whatever your whatever it says a podcast is supposed to be to keep people engaged.
Right. It's been a pleasure, man. You know how we do. We'll get this thing out as soon as I can. Is there anything else? Is there something that Tom has got going on personally? What are you promoting right now? What can we hear from Starz Gold in the future?
Just our showcases, our tournaments. We're hosting Alliance events. We have 2 opportunities to showcase events, 2 opportunities for camps this fall, and 2 opportunities for teams to earn Alliance berths right in Richmond. And
perfect.
So we're excited about that, and including one of them's the Alliance Super Cup Stage 1, where if you finish a certain level, you get an automatic invite to that, which should be pretty awesome.
It's something to shoot for there. Where can we get more information on that?
You can go to WilliamsburgStarsGold.com, and then one of our drop-down screens is tournaments and camps, and you'll find all of them right there, and you're able to register for all of them.
Awesome. Just like before, I'll have all that information linked in the bottom of the description so folks can find that easier. And I'll make sure we get this out soon enough so that they can get registered and they can find out all the information that they need, man. Tom, it's been a pleasure, buddy. Thank you.
No problem, man. You have a good one.
All right, so that's a wrap on this episode. Huge shout out to Tom Bunn. Thanks again, man, for joining me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We talk about the Alliance. We talk about playing high-end competition, making sure the girls are ready for that next level. And that's what it's all about. Getting these girls the exposure that they need to be in front of the college coaches that hopefully give them the opportunity to play at the next level. Whether it's D1, D3, NAIA, JC, it doesn't matter. Giving these girls somewhere to go. The future of the game is bright. The Alliance is doing big things when it comes to getting these girls in the right spot, playing against the right competition. College coaches are noticing this. The Alliance is growing. Tom is a huge part of that with the Atlantic Coast Fastpitch League. That league is growing almost every day. New members, new coaches, new teams. So a lot of good stuff happening. Again, thanks, Tom, for joining me. It was awesome. In the future, we're going to have guests just like this on the podcast. If you like this type of stuff, make sure you're subscribed so you won't miss an episode. And if you like this one, make sure you hit that like button. And when you share this with a friend, make sure you tell them you love them.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.